liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping by to the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment MBRR Saturday SitRep. As always, check out the merchandise, coffee, tumblers, lowball glasses, shot glasses, slate. I love these things. Little ASMR for you. I don't think it works. Anyway, these slate coasters are absolutely gorgeous. Message me, tcpearson@protonmail.com. TC Pearson on Facebook, at Robe Regiment on Twitter. Too many places. High demand, right? Kidding. I would like to say that there's going to be more humor in today's video, but there's really not. I want to start off with the story of Katie Wright. Katie Wright is the mother of Dante Wright, who was killed last year by Brooklyn Center Police when he was shot and killed instead of tased by a longtime female police officer of Brooklyn Center. It's a tragic story. No one is happy that it played out the way it did. Least of which is, Katie's family and Dante's family, and especially his mother, Katie. Look, when you have a storied history of law enforcement involvement and have been convicted of crimes, and you're out on bond, or you're out on bail, or you're out on probation or parole, like you should be learning to not be doing those things anymore. And you should be focusing on trying to keep your life straight, which has kind of been one of the reasons why we have the probation and parole system in place in the United States. But when bad things happen in a bad situation and you die, your family's going to be upset, especially when it was avoidable. It was avoidable. Let's just be honest. There was no reason that he should die. And it was tragic. And so his mother has taken to, should we say, watching law enforcement. And I don't want to say she's become a First Amendment auditor or Second Amendment auditor, but she clearly seems to have taken to being aware when law enforcement is working in her area. And that's what played out on the evening that this video was shot. So let's watch it.
Thank you. I want to be on that camera over there. So if she be recording over there, I don't want my face on camera. Because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Have a seat. Just to make sure no one else in the car. She's good. That's good.
Now, I want to... Here's this individual in a high-risk stop being recorded on body cams. And Katie is well removed from the stop. And he happens to see that she's over there recording and says, I don't want to be recorded. Doesn't matter if he wants to be recorded. He doesn't have a right to not be recorded, okay? So they're getting him in the car. Listen again to this.
My face on camera. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Have a seat. Just make sure no one else in the car.
She's getting a ticket.
No, don't worry about
Did you hear that? She's getting a ticket. And the other officer says, nah, don't worry about it. Let's do that again.
I don't want my face on camera. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Have a seat. Just make sure no one else in the car.
She's getting a ticket.
No, don't worry about it.
One officer tried. She's getting a ticket. No, don't worry about it. He had made up his mind already. Now, listen to him as he approaches. And I want to point out, before we get there, where Katie was parked, 252. It's a busy thoroughfare. Probably a bad idea for her to be parked there. It's a horrible place for her to park. And I would strongly recommend that if she's going to do this in the future, that she not park the way that she did. But be that as it may, no one knew who she was. He said she's getting a ticket. Why? What on what grounds? On what grounds? Because right now, you don't know why she's parked there. You don't know that what she's doing. I mean, obviously you can see she's recording. You're going to ticket her for recording. Maybe she happened to stop for a flat tire and she's waiting for help. And she sees this take place in front of her. And so she's going to record. Maybe she's, I don't know, maybe she's having engine problems. I don't know. Maybe she was scared. Whatever the case may be, to flat out make the statement, she's getting a ticket. No, at no point. He was done. He had already made up his mind. And why? Why? What was the reason? And I want to point out how far away she was. She was across 2 lanes of traffic and a full median and parked for ostensibly what's a shoulder or a breakdown lane. Now listen to him.
I need your driver's license.
I need your driver's license. This is how he approaches her. There again, she shouldn't have been. I think it was a bad form on her part to park there. But he didn't even ask, hey, what do you got going on besides recording us? Why did you stop?
What's that? You're going to give me your driver's license or I'm going to take you to jail for obstructing.
You are going to give me your driver's license or I'm going to take you to jail for obstruction. Now, going to have a hard time making that one stick, bud. She's literally not obstructing. And you're not even making a single attempt to de-escalate this. You came in hot. You came in like an A-10 Warthog backing up ground troops in Afghanistan. That's what it was like. It was like you were coming in and you were going to rid the enemy. You were going to remove the enemy from the area. Right? Once again, Katie shouldn't have been parked there. I think it's a bad move. But this is retaliatory. The one officer told her, man, don't even worry about it. Told him, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But he went over there anyway. And he hasn't given her any reason why he's asking her for her ID. He hasn't given her any reason that what's his articulable suspicion of the crime she has committed. Now, maybe it's illegal for her to be parked there. I haven't bothered to look it up because, quite frankly, I don't care. Because this was an avoidable situation. And not mostly on Katie's part. This was about 10% on her and 90% on him. He could have responded to this far different than he did and far better. And his next go-to is, you're going to give me your identification or I'm taking you to jail for obstruction.
Driving a vehicle. You're going to go to
take me to jail. Just here, come to here. Come on, man. What the fuck?
Okay.
No, right?
Now, Katie should not have resisted the way she did. And there again, she didn't really resist with force, but she should not have pulled away from him. Bad idea in that situation. At this point, he's clearly upset. He's got an axe to grind. You really want to monkey with a cop that's got an axe to grind? No, it's a bad idea. And the whole, do you know who? Well, how in the world is he going to know who you are? And does it matter? Okay, so she's got some chip on her shoulder, but guess what? It's not illegal to have a chip on your shoulder. It's not even illegal to be a jerk. It's not even illegal to swear at cops. It's not illegal to call them names. It's not illegal to do any of that stuff. He came in with an agenda. She had an agenda. He was the one in the wrong here. He was wrong. He was absolutely wrong.
My name is Katie Wright. And you guys killed my son, and I'm going to videotape it. And if you take me to jail, I will sue you. I don't care. Do not ever touch me again. I don't care. Don't touch me again. You can send me a ticket, but don't touch me again. I'm not undergoing. You don't understand. No, I did not get pulled over. You do not. Legally, you cannot ask me who I am. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Katie Wright, I'll send you a ticket in the mail.
Send me a ticket.
Well, then I'm going to send you another one.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is reminiscent of the scene from The Breakfast Club where the teacher keeps giving the greaser detention. I got you for the next 200 years. He was wrong. There again, he could have gone in and said, "Hey, who are you? You're parked illegally." But that's not really what he was upset about. Are you asking me if I'm reading into his motives? You're darn right. I'm reading into his motives. He didn't want to be recorded. He was pissed off he was being recorded by her. It had nothing to do with where she was parked. If he'd have pulled up on this scene and she was out there with a flat tire, he would have put his lights on. He wouldn't have written her a ticket. If she was having car troubles, he wouldn't have written her a ticket. It had everything in the world to do with the fact that he didn't want her recording. Now, granted, he's got a body cam on, as we can see that. So their reactions are being recorded. But this was all about him having a beef with her. And he just keeps it up. I'll just write you another one.
I will. I sure will.
I sure will. There was no attempt. There was no attempt on his part to de-escalate this situation. None. None. And this is how people get hurt. Was Katie wrong for being parked there? More than likely. More than likely. Was she wrong for pulling away from him and saying, "Do you know who I am? Like, I care, sister." Yep. Wrong. But here's the thing. Cop was coming in hot. He had an axe to grind. And so then the police department releases the video footage. I wish we could get like St. Paul and Minneapolis release video footage that fast when John Thompson pulls something asinine, by the way. But they release this virtually immediately, right? And then the police union steps in and they make a comment about how Katie Wright was endangering the lives of law enforcement officers that day. No, she wasn't. She did not endanger the lives of law enforcement. Once again, her parking, where she chose to park was stupid, but she did not endanger the life of that cop. He wasn't in danger because of her. And this is the thing that we have got to get into the heads of law enforcement today. Just because someone is shooting a video of you doesn't mean you're in danger. There are plenty of other threats out there for law enforcement. Plenty of them. Katie Wright was not the threat here. And his buddy told him, "Don't bother. It's not it's not worth it. Don't go over there. Just let it go." That was a bad move. And here's the thing. As a conservative who wants to back good law enforcement, who's willing to stand there and say this cop did the right thing, I'm going to support them when they're doing what's right, when they're standing on the Constitution. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. He had it in his mind he was going to get something out of this before he ever got there to find out what was going on. And instead of showing any kind of compassion, you're dealing with a mother of a dead son who, yes, he was a criminal, but he's dead. And she's now facing that every day because of a tragic mistake that was made. Because he made the decision to run and fight, and a tragic mistake was made on the part of one of your former fellow officers. Your response is to go, she's getting a ticket, and then when you find out who she is, instead of waiting to find out what's going on, to see what's compelling this, to come in there and use interpersonal communication skills that every single cop is taught. You come in like a bull in a china shop. And that is why you're seeing so many people in the conservative movement are not just saying back to blue at all costs anymore. They're starting to step back and ask questions and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? And like I said to Dennis Smith in my interview with him on Friday night, the 6th, yesterday, we have got to get law enforcement back in the mind of being constitutional and interested in the rights and the liberties in the pursuit of happiness of the citizens and not being enforcement arms of the state. Now, Katie Wright's out there saying that she's got some broken bones in her wrist and the chest or something. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. But here's what I'll tell you. The cop was far more wrong than Katie was. And instead of coming at her like a public servant, he came at her like a tyrant on a mission. And I hope he does write her a ticket. And I hope she fights it. And I hope she wins. Because that's the only way we're going to change some of this. So, now, as many of you are aware, we have had much talk this week about SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, and the leak that took place regarding the Roe v. Wade decision that's coming, that apparently seems to be coming down the pike, right? Excuse me, I don't know why I'm yawning. I did yard work today. Maybe I'm tired. But SCOTUS has indicated in an opinion letter that was leaked that they're planning on overturning Roe v. Wade and sending it back to the states and telling the states, this is on you. You need to decide how you're going to handle abortion, which is the way it should have been handled back in 1972 in the first place. It should have never been mandated or decided at the federal level that now you're some sort of constitutionally enshrined right to murder your baby. I don't get that, by the way. What we need to really focus on in all of this is the leak and what's happening. So there have been a lot of people who are complaining that it's going to swing the election in the fall, that this is somehow going to swing people away from voting for Republicans, and that was the goal of this. And I have said to numerous people, and I've had other people that I've now heard subsequent that are far more prolific and far more intelligent than I am, said it's way too early for a October surprise type ordeal. I don't think this has anything to do with motivating the base to get out and vote by in November. What I think it's going on here. One, somebody's really scared. The leftists are really scared because even with Ketanji Brown now being on the Supreme Court, there's still the leftists on the Supreme Court are in the minority, and they feel like they're losing their power. And what I would really, I don't want to believe this, but what I think is, I think this was done to take our eyes off of a couple of other things. And I know everybody's like, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy. Look, people, if the last 2 years haven't taught you anything at all about how our country operates and how the media operates and how the deep state operates, and come on, if you guys don't believe there's a deep state, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? I mean, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene facing trial for not having committed a crime because they just said she committed a crime and she hasn't been found guilty. So they hauled her in front of a judge to have her disqualified, to try and have her disqualified from running for office. She hasn't committed a crime. And they're not trying her for a crime. They're just trying to get the judge to decide whether or not she can run for office or even stay in office. All dating back to January 6th. You don't think there's a deep state? Are you kidding me? This is being done, one, to take our eyes off of some things. And I think part of it is the ramp up of American involvement in the Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, they are pushing us to a ground war, a hot war with Russia in the Ukraine. The Biden-Harris administration wants us in there. They want us in there. Hey, thanks, Larry. Yeah, happy Saturday to you. I hope you're doing well. And I've been praying for you, just so you know. Happy Saturday at all. Not a conspiracy, just blatant overt distraction. Absolutely. I think they're trying to rile the public up away from paying attention to the Ukraine. Now, apparently the bulk of people in the United States are all for us sending billions and billions and billions of dollars to an immoral nation like Ukraine and protecting their borders while we can't protect ours. Like the breakdown of the billions of dollars that have been sent to Ukraine to keep their country from being invaded. I mean, they literally have billions more going to them than we have going to secure our border to the south. We should be doing something with our border to the north as well, because pretty soon the Canadians are going to start coming here. And unless we can control who comes in, I don't want them bringing their leftist ideology with them. So sorry to my Canadian friends who aren't leftist. But I also think that it's ramping up the move to try and pack the court. So people don't understand that here in the United States, the Supreme Court is traditionally held at 9 people. There is no constitutional reason for that. The Constitution doesn't ensconce that into the courts. It's just been traditionally held at 9, and we've tried to avoid that. And there is no amendment that requires it stay at 9. And so I heard someone talking about this the other day, and I think it's a really good idea. Personally, I think this leak was done, one, because they're terrified that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned, and the states are actually going to have a say. And states like Oklahoma have a trigger bill in place that says when and if Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States, we will ban all abortion. And the Supreme Court will not take it back up unless it comes to them from a Supreme Court of the state of Oklahoma. And I believe it's Oklahoma, yeah. And it end up getting kicked to the Supreme Court again, which then, if it gets kicked to the Supreme Court again, they will rule in favor of the state on the full ban. But the leftists are absolutely going mad about this. What I think this is going to end up doing is going to end up doing a drive to push a packing of the Supreme Court. And if you don't understand what packing the Supreme Court means, it basically means you just put so many people on the Supreme Court that it becomes overwhelmingly lopsided. So if you got leftists in government right now, like we see in the House and the Senate, and we got leftists in the courts or in the executive branch, like right now, if they started to pack, there's nothing to stop them. They could do it. They could absolutely do it. And this is a drive to make that happen before they get their butts handed to them in November. And so the individual I was listening to the other day, and I'm not going to go into names about it right now, but it said this would be a great power move for the conservative Republicans to say, okay, here's the deal. We want to pass an amendment fixing the Supreme Court at 9, now and forever. And tell the leftist, you will sign this. You will agree with us on this. And if they say, nope, no way, say, then we're going to pack the court. Nice little power play. And this opens the door for that. But I think this is ultimately done, one, to distract us from what's happening in Ukraine, one, to distract us from all of the indoctrination and talk about grooming and everything else that's going on, but also to talk to get the ball rolling for support of the packing of the court by the left. And I think it's an opportunity that the Republicans shouldn't squander, but knowing how the Republicans work, they'll squander it. They'll get wrapped up in investigating the leak when, quite frankly, the Chief Justice Roberts says it's a valid memo, and yes, it was leaked, and we're going to look into it. But ultimately, not much, what else can they do besides find the person and convict them, put them on trial. That's it. But now what we have is people outside of the homes of justices, which, by the way, according to the U.S. Code, is illegal. They're protesting at the justices' homes. Justice Kavanaugh's neighbor has organized protests out in front of his home. Think about this. Elizabeth Warren stood on the steps of the Supreme Court the other day screaming bloody murder about taking action. It sounded like she was trying to incite people to violence. But that wasn't... I wonder if I can find that. If I can, maybe I can. Let's see here. I mean, it's just she's out of control when she's screaming. It was absolutely amazing. I probably can't find it. Yeah, I don't know where it went. Anyway, we need to be paying attention. Roe v. Wade's important, very important, especially for abolitionists like myself, total abolitionist like myself. But the more important thing for us to keep in mind is there are other things going on, and one of those things that's going on, and this may be something that could slip under the radar, they're hyping up the COOF again. Where's it at? Oh, and speaking of which, about the Supreme Court, they are investigating Justice Thomas's wife for extremism, by the way. So it's just kind of a way to discredit him. Here we go. I'm not even going to begin to show you all of these, but we have a report from CNN that just came out on the 3rd. Says newer, fitter descendants of Omicron variant begin to drive their own COOF waves. Catch that? Newer, fitter. Okay. CDC restates recommendations for masks on planes and trains. And it's continuing to build up. This is continuing to build up, and more and more and more. There again, surprise, surprise. We're coming into a hotly contested election this year. It's going to be hot. And color me surprised, or color me shocked, or color me conspiratorial if I think that they might try to come up with a way to force people out of the voting booths again and keep them at home voting online, or voting electronically, or voting by mail-in. What other way is it? What's the easiest way to corrupt an election? Electronic voting and mail-in voting. Sorry if you think that's nuts, but it's true. And by the way, sorry, not sorry. It's just an absolute travesty what happened in the last election, the presidential election, and the way it was pulled off was through finagling. No matter what your opinion is on the situation, that's just the way it is. And so I think we have to get to the point where we start to recognize that propaganda is propaganda, and they're doing everything they can to keep us in fear. And there are a lot of people, even supposed conservatives out there, who are going to fall for the fear porn. And we have to do something about it. And that's to push back and say, like, stop paying attention to all of this stuff that's happening. You don't have to be worried about getting sick. So I've been talking about Ukraine, and it's been on my mind a lot because it just keeps coming up. I mean, our governor here in the People's State of Minnesota has continued to shill for the situation over there and how we need to do more and more and more. The mayor of Rochester, Commissar Kim, along with Commissar Walls, Commissar Kim Norton, continue to shill and talk about how we're doing so much for the poor people of Ukraine. And there are victims in Ukraine. Don't get me wrong; these people are victims, but they just it's just this constant refrain of what are we doing to help these poor people, and we keep forgetting that the United States installed literal Nazis into government over there. And we did it because they were going to align with us against Russia. And while that's happening, when you try to talk about it and you try to talk about the Azov Battalion and things like that, people are, you're just making that up. That's not true. I'm going to be sharing a link in this video to a couple of conversations that people have had on bigger platforms than mine, where this is detailed. It's detailed completely. And in one of those, I'm going to be linking to Counterflow with Buck Johnson, where he has Scott Horton on and details this, like immensely detailed list of how this plays out. We're not making it up. The United States, under the Obama-Biden administration, installed literal Nazis who had been there for years, who had committed atrocities and are continuing to commit atrocities. And nobody seems to care about that. And so I'm going to show you guys something here. And the reason this is important is because we are ignoring the reality of true Nazis in the Ukraine through the Azov Battalion and C-14. But we're not paying or we're paying way too much attention to what kids are doing in a school district. Now, student drawings of a Nazi Party Hitler displayed in Osceola County High School under investigation. Okay? Osceola County, Florida, an investigation is underway tonight. This is from May 6th. An investigation is underway tonight over drawings referencing the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler in Harmony High School. Concerned parents alerted Channel 9 about the drawings. The principal said he didn't know about the drawings and would look into it. Then directed us to a district spokesperson who said the pictures were inappropriate. One of the pictures shows a swastika and reads, "Join the Nazi Party." And another reads, "When you ride alone, you ride with Hitler." A recreation of a well-known World War II poster used to inspire Americans on the home front to save gas for the war. Now, the implication is that this artwork, by the way, First Amendment applies, period. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. The First Amendment applies here. But this person, the student, we're being told did this on their own, that it wasn't part of any assignment, which is fine, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Who the hell cares? He drew something from history. And they're painting this out to be some sort of hate crime because he drew this pictures of this memorabilia. And one of them was literally a piece of propaganda to encourage people to not drive alone so we could save gas for the soldiers fighting in Europe against the Nazi machine. That somehow is terrifying to people, while we have literal Nazis in the Ukraine being given billions upon billions of tax dollars to fight against Russia. How does that make sense to anybody? How does that not make you go, what is wrong with the people of our nation? How are we looking at that and not saying to ourselves, we've lost our ever-loving minds? We're going to spend money investigating artwork and have it removed to get to the bottom of how serious this is. And nobody wants to talk about what's actually happening in the Ukraine with literal Nazis literally fighting a war to literally stay in power and spread their freaking agenda. This is the country you live in, Americans. And all of you are sitting back. I had a guy attack me today. You know what? I'll share his comments. I don't care if it makes him mad. I said this. Any American going to fight in the Russo-Ukrainian war that is captured, wounded, or killed should be left in the area of operation, and not 1 cent of taxpayer dollars should go to bring them home. This is not about the military. This is about people who volunteer to go fight on either side, for the Russians or for the Ukrainians. You get wounded or killed or captured over there. That's it. You made your decision. Live with it. This individual, and people took some exception to it. Some people agreed with me. Marshall Pepper Watkins, T.C. Pearson, you are no real American, nor are you conservative. You have the mindset of the anti-war hippies that spat on my brother soldiers when they came home. We should be in the Ukraine fighting the sorry Russians. All right? Do you see this? This person claiming to be a conservative and telling me I'm not a conservative and I'm not a patriot or I'm not a real American is telling me he wants your boys and girls over in the Ukraine fighting for the Ukrainians against the Russians. He wants your people, your family members to die for this, ladies and gentlemen. He wants your family members to die for this. And I'm the extremist. And here's what I said to him, and he didn't respond. I said, Marshall, I was 82nd Airborne. Am I qualified to have an opinion now? I am precisely against the USA being involved because I am a through and through paleo-conservative, not a normie con, Fox News worshipping, war hawk interventionist. I am a patriot that embraces isolationism and anti-intervention because I respect our service members and want them to live, while you are advocating for American service members to be slaughtered by the thousands in yet another war that American oligarchs created to keep citizens enslaved to the military-industrial complex and to burn billions of taxpayer dollars in an immoral conflict. I and thousands of other veterans are actively campaigning to end the veteran suicides that skyrocket every day because our overlords won't fully fund veteran care while they send money to a corrupt nation like Ukraine. And I'm not a real American. And ladies and gentlemen, lest you think that they are not trying to get us into a war, you're nuts. There are U.S. soldiers former U.S. soldiers in Ukraine right now taking part, shooting video, bragging about their involvement over there, bragging about it. Canadians have a general that was over there, allegedly, who's now been captured by the Russians. Sounds like he's going to be standing trial. The name I've been given is General Trevor Kadir. Kadier? I don't know. But here's the one I wanted to show you guys. Remember, we talked recently about the United States giving information that shot down at least 2 Russian transport planes, killing hundreds of Russian soldiers based on our information. We helped with that. Well, U.S. intelligence is helping Ukraine kill Russian generals. U.S. intelligence is aiding Ukraine in killing Russian generals. You don't think they're going to send your kids to war, ladies and gentlemen? You don't think so? You don't think so? It's happening right under our noses, and we're worried about a stupid virus that's not. We're worried about a virus, and we're worried about Roe v. Wade a memo being leaked, and we're worried about some kid that drew some pictures of Nazi memorabilia or from World War II memorabilia. Ultimately, is what it was. It's what it was. That's what it was. That's all it was. And what else are we worried about? Well, so don't pay attention to what we're doing in Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be involved with that. Don't be involved. Don't pay any attention to that. What we want you to do is pay attention to our magnanimous nature and the fact that we are going to take care of you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fret. We're here to help. Ronald Reagan's 9 most terrifying words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I've been warning you that they were going to do this. Education Department forgives loans of more than 110,000 people in public service. Now, you're like, well, what do you care about forgiving the loans of people in public service? Because they took out loans. Just because they're in public service doesn't mean they shouldn't have to pay them back. That's $6.8 billion. $6.8 billion. That's not going to go back into the economy. So people who are working on your tax dollars don't have to pay out loans that were given to them based off of your tax dollars. So they're going to continue to get their check, and that money is not going to come back to the economy. And it's just going to be this spiral. Oh, but we're not done. We're not done. And I know I keep talking about this stuff, but it's because they keep ramping it up. Biden must cancel federal student debt for each and every borrower. 8 state attorneys general say now is not the time for half measures. They're putting so much pressure on him that he's going to have to cave in. He's going to have to cave in, or it's going to end up destroying their chances of keeping a president like him in place. He's not going to have a chance if he doesn't do this, because they've been hyping it so much that people are going to expect it. They're just going to absolutely expect that that's what we're going to do. You got to give us this or else. And that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for him to cave. And once again, 110,000 public sector employees, people who will get paid by taxpayer dollars, had their loan of taxpayer dollars forgiven, and they are going to continue to ramp up the pressure to make it happen more. Across the board. Here's a deal for you. Take out a loan, pay it back. And we all screw up. Man, I screwed up my financial life years ago, and I'm still suffering for it. But don't borrow, especially to the tune of what so many of these people are borrowing. And if you're out there trying to decide what you're going to do with your life right now, do not borrow money to go to college. Find a trade. Sometimes they'll pay you to learn a trade, and they make good money, very good money. college is a death trap right now. And if you go into college thinking, well, I'm going to go rack up millions of dollars or thousands of dollars of debt so that I can have it forgiven, shame on you. You are a load on this society, and you will never be a productive member of this nation. So I've been telling you guys this is coming. They're appealing to these people who want to be mollycoddled from cradle to grave to get the votes and keep them on their side, because the Republicans are going, this is stupid. Why should we not have to pay back what we borrow? And there are so many ways that people could really do this. And what about all the people who work their way through college and university? What are we going to do for them? Do they get a refund? And if you go into a career field that you went to college for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that you went to college for that long, and you spent thousands and thousands of dollars and your thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, and you're not making enough money to pay it back, instead of expecting your loans to be forgiven, you should probably ask the university or the college that you went to for a refund for giving you a faulty product. It's not the responsibility of the American taxpayers to pay for your education. Well, if you watch this, thank you for watching. Larry, thank you for stopping by. It looks like you were my only live guest today. So praying for you, brother. Thank you for everything you do for the cause. And my friends, until next time, Sic Semper. Oh, hey, by the way, Joshua Slocum from Disaffected is coming on Monday night. It is going to be a barn burner of a show. Trust me, Joshua is on fire lately, and he is full of information, and he's 100% spot on about almost everything he says. So tune in Monday night, 7 p.m., TC and Friends Monday Night Musings, to catch Joshua Slocum and his wisdom. This guy is hilarious, he's intelligent, and he's informative, and he is fired up. So until next time, Sic Semper Tyrannis.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at